Thank you everyone for joining us today. My name is Tim He and I will be your host for tonight. Now, before we get started, a little bit about myself. I consider myself a 1.5 generation Chinese American, having grown up here in Chicago, Illinois. But I'm originally from the Hubei province, but I moved here about when I was 6 years old, so right around first grade. So I definitely went through all of my education here in the United States. I know we have a lot of people from Chicago or the Chicago area here today. Um, I went to school at James Ward Elementary when I first came here. Then quickly I went to what used to be called Mark T. Skinner, and now it's called Skinner West. And then I attended Leonard Gifted Center down in the South Side before going to Whitney Young Academic Center for 7th and 8th grade. So I definitely went through a lot of different educational systems, as well as throughout the entire city of Chicago. For high school, I took a different route than most other students. I went to the Chicago High School for the Arts, where my major was saxophone performance. And then after my freshman year, I was admitted to the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, studying saxophone performance with Professor Rick Meyer down there. Now I am actually currently in my Master's of Liberal Arts with my concentration in psychology from Harvard Extension. So today our panel discussion and Q&A is titled Love at First Sight, How to Entice Any College. Now, I especially want to thank our two graduates that are here today. We have with us Cecilia Lei and Frank Lee. All righty, those are our graduates for this year. Next slide, please. So today we will go through really quickly our introductions. We will have a short little trivia game with everyone here, a panel discussion with all of our special guests, and a Q&A for all of our attendees today. Next slide. All right, let's start with Cecilia. Cecilia, would you mind giving us a short little introduction about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Cecilia Lei. I just recently graduated from Naperville North High School, and I'll be attending Stanford University in the fall.
Thank you, Cecilia. So, Cecilia, what about Naperville North do you right now, do you remember the most? A memory that is most fond for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. Definitely the people there. I mean, the friends that I've made at Naperville North, I feel like I'll be friends with for the rest of my life. Everyone there is so welcoming, and they really push me to be the best that I can be. So definitely the people, which also includes the teachers. I've met some amazing teachers who have really helped me discover what I love.
Awesome. Thank you. Now on to our next graduate, Frank.
Hello, everyone. My name is Frank Lee. I was actually born in China and I came to the US when I was 13. I just recently graduated from Morgan Park Academy and I'm going to Vanderbilt University this fall.
Awesome. And Frank, what will you be studying at Vanderbilt?
I'll be majoring in math and I'm not sure about what else I'm going to be studying, maybe economics.
Math and maybe economics. That's awesome. What about you, Cecilia?
Yeah, Stanford actually doesn't want you to declare a major your first year, but I did indicate 3 areas of interest. I had an interest in economics, English, and international relationships.
That is awesome. Definitely a wide field there too.
Mhm.
Okay, now since you're both going to these wonderful, wonderful schools, we are going to play a quick game. Next slide, please. And this is college trivia edition. Oops, sorry, give me 1 second. All right, our first question is, which of these schools has a mascot, an unofficial mascot that is a tree? Is it Stanford or Vanderbilt?
Should I answer it or
Yeah, anybody, either of you guys can answer.
Stanford?
It is.
Yeah.
Stanford's unofficial mascot is this weird looking Christmas tree with lights on it. It is fantastic. Frank, do you actually know the mascot for Vanderbilt?
Uh, I know they say anchor down, but I'm not sure like if there's like an animal.
Yeah,
I'm
anchor
pretty sure that.
down. It's because the Commodore. So Commodore Vanderbilt, that was his nickname. So he went by Commodore.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the mascot is the Commodore. That's why they say anchor
Oh,
down because
perfect.
on the ships.
Perfect.
Okay, next question. This school has the one of the largest collection of Rodin statues in the world. Is it Vanderbilt or Stanford?
I'm gonna guess Vanderbilt because I have no idea what that is.
I
Oh,
was gonna
so
say the same thing to you. I was gonna guess Stanford because I don't know what it is.
yeah, so remember the Rodin, the thinker statues, the big metal statues?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's actually Stanford. Stanford has one of the largest collections in the entire world. So they have them scattered around the campus.
Oh, that's so cool. I didn't know that. I'll definitely have to look around campus for them.
Definitely. They actually have one specifically that he spent over 20 years making.
Wow.
And it's featured there at Stanford. All
That's
right.
gonna be the first one I try to find.
Yeah, right? It's quite a collection they have. All right, look, next question. At this school, squirrels outnumber students 2-1.
I'm gonna say Stanford because I didn't see any squirrels when I was there.
I'm gonna guess Stanford too, because we're the trees. Squirrels love trees.
Yes, but surprisingly, it is Vanderbilt who
Oh,
oftentimes
really?
gets overrun with squirrels during the season. It's pretty crazy. But yet, no, Stanford does have what is it, 27,000 trees on their campus. It's pretty crazy. But I think Vanderbilt has the added bonus of being in Nashville, which is also a really fun city to be in too.
That's pretty weird. I went to Nashville like 2 months ago. I didn't see a single squirrel.
Really? Yeah, no,
Yeah,
their campus is usually known for having quite a lot of squirrels. Last one.
maybe I have to look more carefully.
Yeah, maybe next time. All right. So this Al Gore, Vice President Al Gore, flunked out of this school twice.
I'm gonna guess Vanderbilt.
I'll go for Vanderbilt too, actually.
Yes, it is Vanderbilt. So he actually went both. He went for journalism and he went for law, but did not finish either times.
Good to know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's not just like college sometimes can be difficult for anybody, and it's not just like famous people who struggle, but all of us at times do have to deal with a lot of these things too. All right, that's it for our little icebreaker. So now let's move on to our panel discussion. So we please welcome for our panel discussion, Amy Liang. Now, Amy graduated from Northwestern University with a BA in Economics and Creative Writing, and she is currently pursuing law at University of Chicago. Hi, Amy. And then we have Jeffrey Yoder. Jeffrey, oh, I'm sorry, Jeffrey, I had definitely a typo there. Jeffrey graduated from the Indiana University where he studied physics, I believe. And
That's
then,
correct.
and then he is right now at the University of Nevada, Reno, doing his doctorate in physics as well.
That's correct.
All right. Oh, Jeff, we can't see you. Is your camera? Oh, there we go. Awesome. All right. So let's get started with the general academics. Now, this is something that I'm sure a lot of our parents here want to know. What AP classes did you take? So let's start with you, Frank.
Sure. So my situation is actually not very common because the school I went to for ninth grade, it was like a kind of like a middle school that goes up to ninth grade. So I couldn't take any AP class in ninth grade. And then in 10th grade, I went to a public school in Naperville as well. And then I think I only took AP Calculus BC. Uh, so yeah, at that time I only felt like I was strong enough in math. So I didn't really take anything I didn't take any other APs. And then after I went to Morgan Park Academy in my junior year, I took basically like every AP I could, like uh, basically like English, history. They didn't offer that much AP anyways. It was like a very small school, so I just challenged myself to take basically everything I could. And yeah.
So how many tests did you end up taking?
I took one. I took one sophomore year. I took I think three last year. I took four this year, so eight. I
Okay,
guess it's not
eight.
that. Yeah, it's not that much.
Eight, not that much. I'm pretty sure the average, Frank, is like 2 or 3. Eight is
Oh, okay.
quite up there for students already, Frank. No, you've done great,
Nice.
and I know you've definitely challenged yourself last year with the amount of classes that you were taking and the difficulty in those classes. So congratulations, that's awesome. All right, what about you, Cecilia?
Yeah, so I just did a really quick calculation. I took 9, so kind of like Frank. I took no AP classes my freshman year. Sophomore year, I only took AP Gov, which was one semester. Junior year, I took 3, and then this year I took 6. No, 5. So yeah.
5. Oh, wow. Okay, so you guys all went for quite a lot for your senior year. So your senior years must have been pretty busy. So out of all of these AP classes that you took, what is one that you felt was the most challenging for you?
I guess I can start.
Mhm.
The one that was by far the most challenging for me is AP US history. Uh, I guess there's a lot of different reasons for that because I'm more like a STEM person. Like I'm gonna study math and like naturally understand like STEM subjects a lot easier than like memorization or like English in general. So also my AP US history teacher was very tough. Like we get a lot of
Mhm.
homework. So I just have to study a lot at a subject that I wasn't naturally great at. So that was by far the most difficult subject for me.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. I hear that from a lot of students. I mean, personally, A push was one of my favorites, just because I love anything history related, so it just came easier to me. But I understand the difficulty behind it, definitely. What
No,
about
I
you,
thought it was
Cecilia?
pretty interesting. It was just very hard.
Yes, yeah, a lot of details about things that you didn't feel like you needed to remember, but then all of a sudden it was like, oh, that's why that was important. Definitely.
Yeah.
What about you, Cecilia?
Yeah, I'm kind of like the opposite of Frank and kind of like Tim, you, I guess. My hardest one was probably calculus. I took that this year. It was definitely challenging because I'm more of like an English and history kind of person. Like APUSH is one of my favorite AP classes. So yeah, calculus was definitely a little bit challenging, but it was a nice challenge to have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So I'm gonna be honest here. I have never taken calculus. The last math class I took was pre-calc. I mean, because I was a freshman, I only had 1 year of high school. So I was just like, this is hard enough for me. And then in college, I just didn't need to take math as much. My science and math classes were filled with like meteorology and hazardous weathers because it count as math classes. So yeah. So for those who are bad at math or are afraid of doing those kind of things in college for your general education courses, you don't have to worry about it. Um, there's a lot of classes you could take for those general education courses. Okay, can I get, what about Amy? Amy, do you have a recollection of what was an interesting class or a hard class that you took for APs?
Oh, for AP, I guess the hardest one for me was physics BC.
Hmm.
It was the teacher like kind of put like the mechanics and the electricity part like in the like same year. So we
Hmm.
didn't spend like that long on like the second part.
Oh, I
Just
see.
like I wish like we just like spent a little longer. Maybe
Mhm,
like AB would have been like better in a sense.
mhm. Yeah, definitely. With those classes, I feel like a lot of it is so much up to how the teacher teaches the class. And there are disconnects between how teachers teach AP courses and how the AP test actually is. I'm sure you have you guys experienced that at all?
Yeah, definitely. Like this year for physics as well, like we didn't get to the last portion of it, but I just kind of learning on my own. But for AP for A push that I was talking about, we also didn't get to the last portion, but they kind of removed it from the test last year because of COVID-19.
I see. That makes sense. I see.
Yeah. Like for my school this year, I took AP Literature and Composition, and my teacher just never taught us multiple choice because she assumed that we learned it last year, but we never learned it because of COVID-19. So there was also like that bit of disconnect where I knew how to write the essays, but not necessarily the multiple choice. But it's fine. I did some stuff outside of class.
Yeah, that gets on to the next point. How much did you guys have to prepare outside of class or get resources apart from your teachers?
Mhm. For AP tests, I wouldn't say I had to do that much out of school just because, but for this year I did because I didn't retain as much knowledge over e-learning. But I'd say that I mostly just took my notes from when I was in school and then compiled them into like a giant outline of everything that I needed to know and checked that with College Board's old test. And that was basically it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely a great way to study for it. And since you are a person that has all of those notes compiled, it does make it easier. So that's another thing for any students that are listening. Please take notes in class. I think all of your teachers tell you this, but it's not a skill that everybody does or is good at. And it's something that I still need to work on like all the time. But being able to take notes and take like minutes during a meeting can really help you not only organize what you need to do, but your like how you focus on a different subject and a different activity. So I encourage everybody who's listening, start taking notes. Doesn't matter what you do, taking notes is awesome. Okay, let's move on to our next section. We have ACT, SAT. Frank, ACT or SAT?
I took both, and I thought SAT was a lot easier.
SAT was easier for you. What about you, Cecilia?
Yeah.
I just only did SAT. I know that ACT would be harder for me. Yeah.
Okay. What about you, Amy?
I did both. Well, back when I was taking the SAT, it was still like the old version, and I definitely like did better on the ACT.
Yeah, definitely. I took both as well, and I definitely did better on the ACT. I didn't mind the science section. I know some students don't like it as much, but I mean, it's just reading through graphs and everything, so I didn't mind it too much. What about you, Jeffrey? We haven't heard from you. Sorry. Did you take the SAT or ACT?
I took the SAT, but in retrospect, I kind of wish I had taken the ACT also. I think I would have really enjoyed that test.
Yeah, they are slightly different, but they do. I mean, they there are things that are very, very similar and in common, but the whole just type test dynamic with the change in subjects do throw some people off. So now going on to our grad students here a little bit, how was preparing for the SAT, ACT different from preparing for a GRE?
I'd say there's actually a lot of ways in which they're similar. Even in the math, there's a lot of continuity between the two because the GRE can't assume that everyone has taken, calculus, let's say. There's still a lot of algebra fundamentals, still looking back at geometry. So you can't just move on from the fundamentals.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like
there's a lot of
Yeah, I feel like that also trips up a lot of students when they're doing some competition-based things in math. They forget sometimes you got to focus on the fundamentals. They're not just going to only quiz you on the hard, difficult things. Sometimes it's the random rules from like geometry that gets you points off. So I did notice that happening to quite a couple of students last year. What about you, for Amy? How do you feel about preparing for the GRE different from the SAT?
Oh, it's actually the LSAT for me here.
Oh, sorry, LSAT.
I didn't take the GRE. I'm sorry.
Yeah, definitely. So completely different experience here. How was preparing for the LSAT? Because everybody knows that's quite a big test to take.
It's very different. You have to read like really quickly, and you have to read really carefully. I think like those are the most important things. That will get you like 3 sections. And after that, it's just math. Except the math is actually about combination logic. So you have to like order things, like do those kind of things. I guess like it just like it takes practice, definitely.
Yeah, I can see that. That's very different from how I imagined it, to be honest. So I guess reading is something that will never leave you guys. I can tell you from experience doing my grad courses, it's a lot of reading, no matter from like different kinds of random articles or things that you just have to go through. I have to bookmark maybe 2, 3 hours every couple of days just on reading all of my material. So that's something that I guess we never truly get away with when we're studying for anything. Let's go on to our passion projects. So to those who are unfamiliar, passion projects are what we just call an activity or something that you are really dedicated to, something that you feel like lifts up you and your community, something that really inspires you. Now, both of our students have had some amazing projects, and I'm going to let them each present a little bit about their passion projects. Frank, why don't you go first?
Of course. So for my passion project, I started a nonprofit organization called Red Eagle Youth Service Association uh, over a little over a year ago, like last summer before Corona went viral. And then what I did was basically I took my strength in math and I organized like a lot of other high school students to teach like unprivileged kids in Chicago and also out of states because I've been moving around now. So I have like a couple of connections in other states. So we basically just teach like underprivileged children math. They're mostly like sixth grade or even lower, like fifth grade, fourth grade. And then after school started, I kind of took this program and I incorporate into my school as well. So I was contacting with my NHA's teacher a lot to set up this peer tutoring program in my own school. A lot of students were especially struggling with like AP Calculus or several AP courses. So like there were a bunch of people with like failing grades as well. So we just kind of use the same system. Take the people that are doing really well and then help set up like 1v1 one-on-one tutoring sessions, and then the students that are teaching can get like service hours and the other students can improve their grades as well. So it's like a neutral program that's like benefit for my school and also the community around us.
Definitely. And if I remember correctly, you also did quite a bit for the COVID donation drives in MPA and
Oh
in the
yeah,
community.
that went on for about 2 months. That was just donating masks for the people that are around surrounding us. I was like teaming up with Cornerstone, and Cornerstone was focused more on hospitals. So I kind of focus more on the other places that are like still important but like less prevalent. Like I was reaching out to like testing centers or like elderly facilities because old people are most prone to COVID-19. So yeah, that went on for like 2 months.
Yeah. So from these experiences, what do you think what inspired you to get started?
Uh, well, I guess I was just wondering like what can I actually do to help the people around me using my resources, my strength. I guess math has always been a strength, so I thought it would be a great idea to take this strength to help the people that are struggling around me. And then for COVID as well, like a lot of other roommates, like Chinese roommate, when like COVID-19 broke out, they just they're scared, they ran back to China, and then I just thought like I live here, this is my community, so what is it that I can do to help them?
Definitely. Thank you so much for sharing, Frank. And I definitely
Mhm.
enjoyed working with you on your endeavors. All right, next we have Cecilia.
Hi. My main passion project was my own small business. I started it in my junior year. A lot of it during the COVID time, just because I had extra time. So I started my own small business, which is selling stickers. like the adhesives that you put on like water bottles and laptops. It was just like, it started off as kind of like a fun thing that I thought I'd try. And it turned into something much bigger. And I loved every single part of it. And in terms of the community, I donated 20% of my profits to this organization called Save the Children, which during the pandemic, which was a lot of my business, they provided school lunches to children who relied on school lunches during school, who are not going to school anymore. And I also made a sticker that was donated 100% of the profits to Black Lives Matter. And we raised a lot of money. And it was amazing to see just like not only my customers, but people like spreading the word on social media. It was an amazing time. Yeah.
Definitely. That is quite awesome. So through the experience, what was something that you think that you learned that you can use going forward?
Yeah, definitely. I think that one thing that I learned that you can't really get anywhere else is customer service and like just understanding and talking to different people. Like you always get messages from customers and you have to reach like kind of a compromise and you have to work to figure out like what people want and how that best benefits both of you guys. And that's not something that you can just really read about or watch videos on to understand. It's like something that you have to do yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like every adult should have to work in a customer service job before they can do another job. So they can learn how to treat people who are just doing these tasks that are essential workers better. So I completely understand where you're coming from with that and how communication is so important. And I'm going to shamelessly plug Cecilia's Etsy shop here. So if you guys want, you guys could take a look. She has some amazing stickers out there. So once again, 25 or 20% of the profits go to support a great nonprofit.
Thanks.
Okay, so either Frank or Cecilia, what are some things that you can advise for other students who are looking to start a big project like this?
That's a great question. I think first of all is finding something that you actually truly want to do for a long period of time. Because there's a lot of like every single like college application season, I get like a lot of requests from like people who are starting nonprofits and then they give it up after like 2 months. Find something that you're actually really passionate about and that you want to do for a long period of time to make a change. And I think that shows through in your college applications. If you're doing something just for college applications, I don't think it's as genuine. So find something that you actually really love. I think that's really important.
I think that's a fantastic point, definitely. And both of you guys have found long-term projects that you have been able to expand. So I definitely applaud you guys both. Okay, now let's go on to our essay portion. So our essay portion, we are mainly going to talk about which prompts you guys chose for your Common App essays. And then we're going to have Amy give us some quick tips on some things that we have to watch out for when we're writing our personal statements. So let's start with Cecilia. Do you remember what you chose for your Common App prompt?
Yes, I chose the first one, which is like, tell me a part of your identity that you feel like is really important. That's the one that I chose, but I didn't actually like write for a prompt. I wrote my essay first and then I found a prompt that like fit my essay a little bit.
Definitely. Could you share with us just a little bit details about what you talked about?
So my entire essay was like my love for language and like writing, because I felt like that was the part of myself that I wanted to show the most to colleges. So I did like an introduction, like kind of like a joke. I made it like a little bit like a humorous tone. Cause like in Mandarin, you know how it's like baba and then baba. So for lack of a better word, I compared like the difference between poop and father. So I just talked about that in the beginning. And then I just talked about like the nuances of words and like how I use that to convey a story, which is I was like feeling a little risky when I wrote it, but I think it paid off in the end.
I think that definitely paid off. That is amazing. That is quite a big risk you took.
Yeah.
At the beginning, I feel, but I feel like it's justified, you know, because of what you want to write about and everything. But oh man, I don't think I would have been brave enough to do it. So that's awesome. What about you, Frank?
So mine was kind of more to like the boring side, I guess. Like when I write, it's more like a scientist, it's less like funny or creative. So I mainly focus on my love for math. And I also wrote about this experiment I was doing. Actually, I was getting help from like a professor from Stanford to do like this experiment on like saliva traveling. So it was just kind of like a lot of description to make it like not just like super boring to read. It was description about like how my love for math ties with like the experiment and also other stuff.
That's awesome. So, throughout your writing these different prompts, how did you guys think about the topics that you wanted to write?
Yeah, I actually watched a YouTube video and it told me to like do like a web of like my passions and what I love and then like kind of split that up. So I wrote so many drafts for my essay. I have like an entire folder of like scrapped essays and each of them cover like a kind of different thing. But I noticed that like most of my essays were about writing and art. So I decided that writing was like the part of me that I wanted to show the most, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm glad you went through so many drafts. I don't think enough students do. At least all of our students, thank God, we generally they start writing their drafts their end of the junior year or during their junior year, which is what we advise most of our students. Of course, there are some students who start writing their drafts freshman year. Those happen too. Um, but generally we do recommend just junior year when you start thinking about different ideas. What about you, Frank? What are some ways that you started thinking about stuff to write about?
So I actually started writing quite late. I started writing around like September, which is like a
Yeah,
lot later than
same.
most other people. And then at first I was kind of like Cecilia. I kind of broke down the couple like aspects about myself that's like unique or that I want the college admission to know about me. And then I just kind of fit them into like wherever I want to put them. So immediately I just know like math and also this like passion for STEM is probably the most like important thing about me. So I just put that as my personal statement. So I also didn't like select the question, the prompt right away. I just kind of wrote what I wanted to express. And then I just put like my other hobbies, like soccer or like other stuff in the other questions. Uh, yeah, and then like after I knew like what topic I want to write for each essays, it was just a matter of like actually writing a good essay. You know, I can like write like so many prompts, but a lot of them sounds boring. So I just have to keep fixing them and make it sound like more appealing.
Yeah. All right. So you guys, how many times did you guys fix your drafts? How many drafts of your
I think
did you make of that one essay?
I didn't count them. It was just like all over the place. It's like I make this, I delete it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just of this essay, I probably had like 3 drafts, but I had a lot of other essays too.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's awesome. So now Amy, what are some things that we should watch out for when we're writing such things as personal statements?
Yeah, so I will just talk about some things I noticed while like reading essays for Cornerstone this year.
Yeah.
So I guess the first thing is like to be confident in like because you are like expressing like yourself to the admission people. So you want to like showcase the best side of yourself. But like at the same time, you also want to be like true and genuine. So I guess first of all, there's no such thing as luck. Do not admit you got anything like from luck. It's all you. You got this through like effort. That's like the first thing.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of students do that. It's like I got lucky because of this. No, you did this because you deserved it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I guess the second thing would be to tell the story about yourself. I find that when students start describing like an event or an experience they had, they may like stray off into describing things like teamwork or their interactions with other people, and those are fine because like you definitely want to like show them you're a team player.
Mhm.
But I guess the focus should be like not on the project itself or like the other people's actions, but on like what you did to like contribute to the team, what you did to like help with the project.
Yeah, that's definitely a great point. So essentially just driving everything that you add into the essay has to be talking about what you can showcase and what you can bring to the table.
And I guess the third thing would be language. Well, I guess it can be divided into two parts. So first is organization. Chronological order is like usually like pretty good. I wrote mine like chronologically, so that worked fine. I just feel like you may want to like set something up in the beginning, either with like a really catchy intro, like what Cecilia did, or just a summary of what like the reader will anticipate. I think those like usually work to draw the reader's attention and makes the whole essay read much clearer. And another thing is about language itself. Try to like not use that much like flowery descriptions because like you're not describing the scene to the reader. You want to like draw the reader in as if like the reader is you. The reader is feeling like what you're feeling. So the things you want to describe are usually like actions, the things you're feeling, like physical, like touch, smell, those kind of things. Or maybe like a little bit about like your own emotions, but like do not spend like more than 3 adjectives on like each thing you want to describe.
Yeah, I feel like I fall into that trap a little bit because I like describing things more poetically sometimes than I need to. So that is definitely something that I've had to watch out for when I'm doing like academic writing. I can't just write like I'm reviewing a CD or something, or else, people are going to look at me like I'm crazy. Um, so that's a really, really good point. So how were writing for the undergraduate admissions different from writing to graduate admissions? So I guess that would be for Amy.
Or
Or
Jeffrey, do you want to like go?
Sure, I'll step in here. One thing that I would like to note is in physics specifically, there's different expectations. In physics, you're expected to have done research typically if you're going into a PhD program. For masters, there's different expectations, different goals with that. But you're often going to write about, you know, similar to an undergrad, what your interests are, who you are as a person, but also you want to convince them that you would be a good member on their team. The admission committee is likely going to involve your advisor, your potential advisor, your research advisor. So you want to be speaking to them to convince them, hey, you want to work with me, I want to work with you. So it will depend on what you're doing, how you might approach that. For physics, it might be different than in other fields of research or other graduate school experiences like Amy might be able to attest to.
Right. Yeah, I definitely hear that for a lot of graduate schools, oftentimes you have to first contact the advisor, make sure the advisor is okay with you even applying for sometimes for some different schools. So, how did you communicate with your advisor, or how did you find an advisor to work with?
So it actually depends on the program and the school. So I have a number of advisors that I'm interested in working with, but with the program that I'm entering into, there's sort of the first year or so, depending on the rate that you go through, is preparatory courses. So that gives you time to actually meet and spend time in the labs and perhaps work a little bit here, work a little bit there to make sure that you are with the person that you want to work with. It's really hard over email to tell if that's a lab you're going to be happy in. I mean, I did an undergraduate experience where I thought, hey, this is going to be really great. I really am going to love this research. And then I found, okay, maybe that's not for me. Maybe I don't want to work on vacuum systems. Maybe I want to go work on, plasma, which is the department that I'm going into. It has more of a plasma, computational physics, condensed matter sort of focus. So it's really important that you do actually get involved, get hands-on if you can, or at least have conversations with these people to know, because a PhD is a big commitment. Average, I believe, is 5 to 6 years, depending on what you're doing, depending on if it's experimental or theoretical. But it's a big commitment, and you don't want to. There's not, in undergrad, you can't just change majors. You don't want to be changing advisors.
I see. So that makes a lot of sense on why they're so picky about advisors and why you have to make sure you have that all set up beforehand. That is awesome. So now we're going to talk a little bit more about career development. And I would love to talk a little bit to Amy about this because I feel like you have such an interesting jump going from creative writing economics into law. So could you speak a little bit about what inspired you to go into law?
Yes, sure. So I guess first of all, I would like to talk about like why I chose creative writing. I feel like just in general, like English and writing itself is like really important for everything going forward, including things like math, but like definitely like for law. So in a sense, it's like starting from like my freshman year of college, I've just been like unconsciously building my way towards law. Although it was actually in the middle of my junior year, where I like suddenly realized I wanted to like use my imagination and my writing skills to, I guess, like help actual people. Because like when you're writing fiction, which is like what I did for college, you're writing like based on like what you want to write and like what you want to express to others.
Mhm.
And there's less interaction between like you and your audience. And then in law, that is kind of like different because you're interacting with your client, you're interacting with the judge, and you're also like interacting with like a bunch of people. So I think like the legal writing is like it's still creative. You're still telling that like story, except you're telling a real story towards like someone really important, and like you're
Mhm.
actually trying to like change someone's life. So I really like
Yeah,
that.
definitely. I feel like lawyers have to be, might even have to be more creative when they're writing, just because there's so many nuances that they have to get in without, kind of, yeah, it's quite a different process. So if you had a dream job, Amy, in the law field, what would you want to do?
Um, that's a really good question. Right now, I'm thinking of like being a litigator, which
Mhm.
is like representing the clients in front of a judge. But I feel like working like on the judge's side will also be interesting because like that is like what I'm doing like currently as a summer extern. Working on the
Yes.
judge's side just like makes me see like where the lawyers are making their mistakes and like how they're trying to manipulate the system or like
Mhm.
best
Definitely.
frame the laws like on their side, like doing those kind of things. It's really
I support you 100%. Judge Amy, let's go. Definitely, I would love to see more Chinese American and Asian American judges. Of course, we have the first Asian American vice president, so that's great. But more Asian Americans in the judgeship would be awesome too. So let's see, Frank, what do you think about a dream job? Where do you want to go for the future?
Uh, well, I don't really know right now. I guess when I was little, I really wanted to be a professional soccer player, but I guess that's not my dream job anymore. So that's kind of why I'm doing math right now because it's not like super specific. Like I can really go into anything
Mhm.
from there. So I just kind of want to keep it flexible and yeah, I'm not really sure what I want to do.
Yeah, definitely. And that's what college is for. College is for that experimenting, seeing what fields that you want to do. And you really, especially during your undergrad, have the time to take classes that are completely out there, like that has nothing to do with your major at all, especially because you guys have a lot of APs under your belts that does allow you the time. So you don't have to worry about graduation and things like that. What about you, Cecilia?
Yeah, I kind of resonate with Amy a lot. Like, I'm also interested in English and economics, and I'm also interested in going into law potentially, but it's definitely a time for me to explore in undergrad. I'm still open to a lot of different career options. Law is just like something that I would be happy doing.
Yeah, for sure. So, through your 4 years, what do you think has prepared you the best for college?
Yeah. I think AP language and composition is a really good class to take. It kind of just gives you the intro into like writing essays and like using like rhetorical devices. I think that's really important and you use it a lot when writing college essays. And actually a class that like not a lot of people take, but more people should take is AP Studio Art. It's really fun and it's a good way to explore yourself, and it's what inspired me to make my business. So yeah.
That's awesome. I actually did not take that. That's a good idea. I actually haven't recommended that in a while. That's definitely a good point. I'm gonna start remembering that, Cecilia. That's awesome. What about you, Frank? What was something that you feel like prepared you for college?
Are we talking about like a specific class or just in general?
In class or in general?
Okay, so in general, I would say like the constantly moving, like changing school for me, like really makes me more independent and just on top of myself. Like a lot of people when they first go into college, they're like it's their first time living away from their family. They have to, like start to be on top of their own tasks and stuff. But I feel like
Mhm.
that's a thing that I'm already pretty used to, so I don't really have to worry about that.
Yeah, definitely. That makes a lot of sense. All right, now for our graduate students, what do you think throughout your undergraduate period was the most important thing to get you through and into a graduate school?
I can start. I think usually in colleges, in your senior years, there will be a senior thesis. I think it's definitely worthwhile to do one. I did mine in creative writing fiction, where I wrote like 60 pages novella. I think like what matters like the most, like all of that is like you realize you can actually do something like complete, and you can do something huge, and you can like spend all that time like writing and writing.
Mm,
And then I feel like it definitely like made me more confident about like my own skills.
okay, so were you given the opportunity to work with a professor on your thesis, or is this something more independent?
Yeah, I worked with my professor. It was
Okay.
like a really interesting experience because like you get to work like one-on-one
Mhm.
as opposed to like those like being part of a huge class.
I see. So
Yeah.
yeah, that one-on-one experience was probably valuable for anybody in any different field that you want to do. That's awesome. What about you, Jeff?
So with my background, I would say my experience, there are probably two most important things. It's going to depend on the person. It's going to depend on your strengths, what you lean into. But in physics, I would say recommendations, number one. Like I said earlier, you want to convince your advisor that they're going to want to actually work with you because they're going to have to put up with you for quite a while,
Mhm.
and also personal projects. Show that you have passion, show that you want to learn, show that you are doing something beyond just the, 1, 2, 3, 4 of this assignment, that you are making something or learning something, researching. That can be really big in pushing your application to the next level.
Yeah, definitely. I completely agree with you there. Um, we do have our first question from the chat. How can you find a school that is right for you? So I can get started with this, and if anybody wants to chime in. So of course, looking at the overall school ranking is what a lot of parents like to do. Of course, we can start there, but it's also important to look at how the school is doing for their individual ranking for whatever field that you want to do. So a lot of schools that might not have, fantastic overall rankings, but maybe for your specific degree, like animal science, they may be top ranked 3. So it really depends on the kind of program that you want to attend and the different kind of community that you want to be in. Some other things that to watch out for are things like liberal arts colleges and universities, depending on what kind of system that you want to go through, whether you want that smaller, close-knit kind of liberal arts education when you are more free in your classes and it's more discussion based, rather than just just a 4-year state school or another private school. So there's the things that you have to watch out for as well. And I advise everybody to go visit schools, and I'm sure Frank and Cecilia, you guys both went on school visits. Me personally, my freshman year, I went to I went to the New York, Boston area to look at schools. Sophomore, oh, that's I guess that was about freshman year as well, or maybe eighth grade. It was Philadelphia area to look at schools. And then, of course, I've been to Northwestern, UIUC, University of Michigan, University of Minnesota, and a bunch of other schools just for saxophone things. So I was able to get to look at the campuses. Cecilia, were you able to go to any campus visits last year? I know it might have been a little difficult.
Yeah, I was planning to, but then COVID-19, I didn't really get to go in person, which kind of sucked because I feel like you get a real feel for the campus when you go. But I was able to attend some virtual tours, which helped a little bit, I guess. So yeah, but if you can't go on a tour or it doesn't fit into your schedule, it's a really good thing to look just on the website, the kind of things that they offer for undergrads. It really depends based on the school. Like I knew I wanted more of like a smaller liberal arts field, which most of the schools I applied to. So yeah.
Definitely. What about you, Frank? Because I know you were able to at least do some trips.
Yeah, so I kind of looked at a couple schools in Yungan when I was studying there. So that was like ninth grade, eighth grade, like a very young, very long time ago. And then I went to a summer program in U Chicago for like a month. So I was able to visit U Chicago there. And besides that, I didn't really go in person to visit any schools. I went to Nashville to visit Vanderbilt. That was after I got in. So uh, that was not why I applied there. But yeah, kind of like Cecilia, I just look online to see like the virtual programs. They actually do a pretty good job. Like you can kind of feel like you're walking in the campus just like by attending those programs.
Mm. So, Frank, what two schools were you choosing between at the end, or was there? Was it an easy choice? Was it a hard choice choosing Vanderbilt?
Yeah, I was debating between Berkeley and Vanderbilt at the end. So yeah, I could have been a neighbor with her, but I chose Vanderbilt.
So, why did you choose Vanderbilt over Berkeley?
Uh, oh, they're both like really great schools. And also because I'm doing STEM, like Berkeley just more appealing in that area. But in the end, I decided that like a smaller private school is probably better for me because they can offer more like resources in terms of like faculties and just things in general.
Yeah, one of my good friends actually graduated from Vanderbilt and he loved his time there just because of actually the classes that he took, and he absolutely loved the camaraderie between the students and the teachers as well.
Yeah. And
Um,
the location was kind of appealing for me as well because I've been living in like really big cities my whole life. I was born in Shanghai and
mhm.
then I'm living in Chicago. So I kind of want somewhere a little more like low key, just like more chill in general.
Yeah, definitely. You definitely had that vibe over there. All right. What about you, Cecilia? Were you having a hard time choosing between schools?
I didn't have a hard time at all. Stanford was like my ultimate dream school, and once I got in, that was like it. I was like, yes, because it was like the last day of my college decisions too. So I
Ooh.
was kind of debating before that, but once I got my Stanford acceptance letter, I was like, okay, I'm going to Stanford. It was like an ultimate decision. I love the location and the school. So yeah, I'm just really excited. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, how for both of our graduates, how do your parents feel that you guys are going off to college?
Excited. I think my parents probably are excited to get rid of me for a little bit. But yeah, my mom and I have been going on walks like every single day because, we got to spend time before we leave. But yeah, I think it's a good thing. We're happy.
Definitely, that's awesome. And sorry, Cecilia, but I correct me if I'm wrong, but were you the one with the hedgehog?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
So, do you plan to keep on being an animal person in college too?
Not in college. They don't allow pets, I don't think. But after college, I'm getting pets. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. What about you, Frank? How do your parents feel?
Well, my parents got rid of me when I was 13 to live in boarding school. So they're definitely, no, I'm just kidding. They're very excited for me to go to college. My parents, they're both very like happy for me. And then they're happy with the decision as well.
That's awesome. Well, I'm so glad that you guys were able to be here for today. We have one more question. So I'm going to take one more question before we end for today, because I know we're running slightly behind schedule, because I did say this would be a 45-minute session. How can you find your own level? I'm not sure what this question could mean. If Louisa, if you could type your level for the different activities that you want to do, the classes you want to take, or something like that. And if we have any other questions from the audience before we say goodbye to our graduates and our special guests today, Amy and Jeff. All righty then. Thank you everyone so much for joining us here today for our first college graduate talk with Cecilia and Frank. And special thanks to Amy and Jeff for joining us today on our panel discussion and Q&A. I wish Frank and Cecilia the best of luck for next fall. This fall. And for everything you guys have going on in your future. I'm sure you guys will be fantastic. Louisa, if you could find one of our cornerstone teachers, either me or Miss Lee in the group, one of us can answer your question. All right, thank you guys so much for coming today. It was a pleasure talking with you all. Goodbye.